Hello and welcome to the Marketing Dribble podcast with myself, Rob Boyle, and my co-host, Johnny Kenyon. Hiya, Johnny. How are you?
Hi, Rob. Yeah, not bad, mate. How are you getting on?
Not too bad, thank you. I hope you enjoyed all my AI, not one call it clip art that I sent over at the weekend.
Yeah, I think AI art in general has a long way to go, and I think your prompts obviously leave a lot to be desired from what you were sending through. But we're not going to get into that now, Rob. Why can't we get into that?
We can't get in, Johnny, because we have a very special guest with us today.
Yes.
And who is the guest, Johnny?
You tell me, Rob. This was your
Oh,
find.
okay. You're throwing it back. This is the first. We'll have that, yes. Well, today we're joined by Charley Brennand, and she is a paid media PPC consultant. Ooh. And founder also of the PPC Academy, and of course, most importantly, a Lancastrian. Sorry, Johnny, who happens to be a Yorkshire boy. So there's 2 against 1 today.
I think we know why I normally do the intros. That's left a lot to be desired. But yeah, welcome to the show, Charley. If you want to do a bit of a better introduction of yourself, tell our listeners about you. Feel free. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me. I firstly got to say as well, I have got a soft spot in my heart for Yorkshire tea bags. So, as far as Lancashire versus Yorkshire goes, we've got to be thankful for something, right? If they come out with a circle tea bag, it's not for me. It's got to be Yorkshire or nothing. So,
that.
Little point
I'm not sure. I'm not sure we should go any further on this podcast. I think we should end it there. What's happening?
I think there is a Lancashire tea weirdly
my
that you get
background.
across, but anyway,
Okay, so Lancastrian from Lancaster.
How are you?
Yeah,
from
very
Lancaster.
much from Lancaster, grammar school girl, never went to university. I think I was maybe one of 4 in my year group that didn't go. Spent a lifetime in sales roles, probably every type of sales job you could ever imagine, especially the ones that you would least likely to imagine yourself in them. And I just sort of found my way into digital marketing through recruitment of all places. So yeah, I live in Salford now, I've got a little boy, a partner, we're newly engaged, so very exciting little life going on at the moment. So excited to join you and tell you all about it.
Yeah,
nice,
gosh, yeah.
Exciting from a business perspective as well. So you've got all fronts got it going on, and yeah, congratulations on all of that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've done well. So I noticed on your LinkedIn, the banner at the top, you have a thing saying, let's get coffee. Is that something that the networking there and meeting people actually face to face, is that something that you kind of really value?
Yeah, I think, look, let's just take a quick snippet back to COVID. A lot of people realise the value of in-person relationship building, right? Like that's the fundamental thing that we took out of being cooped up in our houses and not being able to go into offices and not being able to interact with people. Like we actually realised how important that was, not only for business but for mental health and building core relationships. So actually, it doesn't really matter what job you do. I really do think that in-person networking, building relationships is fundamental to just good relationships in all aspects of your life. So yeah, it is really, you might not be a coffee drinker, but let's go for a croissant, let's go for a coffee, let's go for a Barry's bootcamp session, whatever you want to do, however you want to spend time together, let's do it because that's how we're going to get a good relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, let's go for Yorkshire tea is probably what you would
Yorkshire
say,
tea, yeah. Let's go for a Yorkshire tea.
Yeah, one of mine and Rob's New Year's resolutions is to get out and network a little bit more, isn't it, Rob? So
yeah,
I think when I do go in the office sort of once a week just to get a bit of face time, but yeah, especially this remote working, it's nice to kind of get out and meet people face to face. So we'll be coming to you for recommendations at the end of the show.
Yeah, I think as well what I would say, Johnny, just before we move on from that point, is one of the things I guess it affected me certainly coming out of COVID is not having that ability to network with people actually rolled us back on our skill set quite a lot. I actually really struggled. I found it really uncomfortable to make eye contact with people for a solid year coming after COVID because you just weren't doing it for very often. You weren't doing it at all. So actually there's a whole breed and generation of people now that feel really, really uncomfortable in those situations. So even more than ever, it's more important to do those face-to-face. I know obviously we're doing the podcast over like a Teams type thing now, where you can see our faces. But even that, it doesn't take into account that awkwardness of meeting somebody in person, like the body language, what are they actually feeling, are they feeling uncomfortable, and really navigating that type of connection that we just didn't for a really long time.
Yeah, no, I like that. I was just thinking as you said that with the podcast thing, I was thinking, do you know, we should have actually all met up. I've never done that. We've never done that in a podcast. Just actually, the people in the room.
If you're listening and you want to sponsor us big time so we can afford a studio space, then yes, please do, and we'll have you in next time.
And then we can meet face to face. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Thing, yeah, like after post-COVID, I just didn't like being in crowds. Like I'm a proper outgoing person, like always out and about, but like crowds, just like it was uncomfortable. So I guess it's almost relearning those social skills, and I guess what better place than a networking event where you kind of not forced into those interactions, but the whole purpose is to interact. So yeah, I think really good point there. So next question. Consultancy is your main role, but obviously you mentioned that you've got the PPC Academy is your passion project. So what is the PPC Academy? Who is it aimed at? Why did you set it up? Can you tell us all about that?
I can, I will, and I must. So the consultancy is basically, my day job is how I pay my bills. So that's my skill set. PPC, I've been in it for a number of years now. I think my journey into PPC from a recruiter into what I do now was quite squiggly. I think that's the word that a lot of people like to use these days when it's, not straightforward, get a degree, move into a job. And there was a lot of barriers to overcome. There was a lot of events that I wanted to attend to learn skills that I just didn't have access to because I was a recruiter, or because I wasn't already in that industry, or because I wasn't immediately in the profile of the target audience, and ultimately, I suppose for a lot of people that would be enough to just go, right, that's it, it's not open to me, it's not available to me. But I don't know if it's the Lancastrian mentality. It's definitely a northern mentality of, if you tell me no, that means try harder, go harder. It actually is yes in disguise, right? Just go a bit harder, ask me a few more times. So I think because of a lot of the barriers that I've faced, and also a lot of people's judgments around who is good for a certain type of role, right? So especially within recruitment, typically what happened is you'd look at a job spec and then you're almost control finding what is in somebody's CV versus what is on somebody's job spec, right? So it's really a copy and paste job. Have they got this, MySQL, if they're a SQL database developer? Have they got, HTML and CSS skills if they're a website developer? Have they got this? Yes, okay, perfect, it makes them qualified. But actually, when you go further down the ladder and you're looking at more junior entrants, the chances are they haven't got a lot of those skill sets. So how do you deem somebody suitable for a role? Well, it's all on soft skills. It's all on your coachability, your ability to learn new skills. But that's so hard to get across in a CV, right? So how are people making judgments on whether somebody's suitable or not? And it's literally just that predisposed bias most of the time. So the PPC Academy really is my way of opening up digital marketing, paid media as a part of that, to whoever wants to get into it. So whether, they're a mum coming off maternity leave and they decide they don't want to be an accountant anymore and they want to go into digital marketing, or whether it's somebody coming out of college who decides they don't want to go to university, or whether it's somebody that runs a small business and they go, I don't want to pay somebody to do this anymore, I want to learn it myself and save a bit of money and upskill myself, or whether it's a finance manager within a business that goes, these people are the biggest cost to our entire business, I want to know what it is that they do, even if it has no direct impact on their day-to-day job. If somebody's got an interest in something, why do we create so many barriers to them being able to learn it? So that's kind of where the idea came from. But I suppose, the fundamental parts of what make PPC Academy is the networking and community side, which is 50% of it, and then the learning side. So the networking and community side of it is very much about bringing people together, allowing it to be an open space to share, learn, and educate, really. And within paid media, it's certainly not something that is ever really promoted that heavily. You know, the way that people in our industry typically act is, if I share this bit of information, somebody is going to take over my entire marketing strategy, they're going to kick me out of a job, I'll be out of a job, you know, we'll all of a sudden lose 10% market share. And look, listen, if sharing a bit of information with, you know, a professional in the same industry is all it takes to do all of that, you're probably not that good, you know. Your British strategy is probably not that good. So I think an industry that hinges itself on being very cloak and dagger has just meant that there's not this network, there's not this community of people coming together and sharing information. So I suppose I've seen that white space in the Northwest in particular, and thought, why do I have to wait for somebody else to fill it? Like, let me just fill it. So that's kind of where it's come from. That's what the vision is. I think the learning side of it, the academy, is very much still a work in progress. I'm working to become a community interest company, so it's not for profit, it's purely to help people get better. And you know, somebody asked me the other day, what's in it for you? Like, is it sales, is it this? And I was like, do you know what, is it really cheesy to say nothing? There's nothing except the goodness of my own heart involved in this project.
Gosh,
completely not. And two things there, you know, really interesting answer, because we had a recruiter on the podcast last Friday that'd be coming out in March, actually, a little bit later, and they were saying about the natural bias and just how they can't help themselves having this natural bias. So the fact that I like what you said there, is like you arm people with all the tools they need to kind of get over that, really, and just say, look, sure, I don't have this experience, but I'm really trying, you know, I'm doing these things, and just giving them those sort of tools to overcome that, I think is really good. And two, I can completely see where you're coming from, because the whole reason we set up this podcast, myself and Rob, was, you know, we speak to guests, we get really good insights, but also just to help people out. So exactly what you're saying there is, when you do get together and share ideas, everyone's a winner, basically. So yeah, really, really like that.
No, as Johnny said there, I totally get what you're saying, because, like I said, this podcast we did to do pretty much the same sort of thing in different, you know, through shows and interviewing different people. Obviously, we get quite a bit out of it by talking to people and learning as well, but hopefully people listening. And that saying came to mind when you said that, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So hopefully what you give out, you'll get back in some other way. Just with if you're looking
did you
at
read that in a book, Rob? Rob's like desperately trying to pitch some kind of book here. He holds up a book on every episode. What did you read that in?
I haven't. No, that's a saying that sticks with me, but I am in the middle of a few books. Yeah.
Well, all right. Look, we'll do an episode on what books you're reading. So right. But yeah,
Rob and Johnny's book club.
Yes.
Yeah, God, yeah.
But look,
it's
really,
a pivot to Richard and Judy's, isn't it?
Yeah, love to hear that, and love to hear
less
that you're
Richard
doing it
and Judy, more Punch and Judy, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we can meet up in person. Yeah.
In with the uppercut straight away.
Well, you know, that's how we roll.
Not messing about, are you?
There we go. But no, awesome to hear that, and good to hear you doing it for the right reasons. Right reasons, yeah. So
yeah, the right reasons.
As well, guys. Like, ultimately, you know, why does it always have to be like, what's in it for me? Like, you know, I think that there's countless studies that have been done to show that actually you get a lot more happiness out of service to other people than you do serving yourself. Like, there's unbelievable amount of studies on that concept. So you kind of like, it makes total sense to me when I'm doing it, because I can see like new relationships forming at the events that we've already run. I can see intros happening between businesses that may not have otherwise met. So for me, the benefit is clear, but I suppose from somebody looking in, it's always very sceptical, right? It's like, oh, there must be some money-making scheme in here somewhere.
Yeah, these days. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think you sort of answered this, but it kind of links nicely to the next question we're going to ask. And you talked about, you know, loving to make a sort of community in the northwest of England, which you said was sort of lacking, and it's some sort of passion of yours. So I don't know if you could expand a little bit on what you mean by that kind of community lacking in the northwest, and how you feel that what you're doing is helping that.
Yeah, sure. So look, any of us can jump on LinkedIn now and find a whole network, a whole community of people that sit and do what we do, because it's so easy to sit at a computer, you know, and type, these are my top 10 tips for whatever, and that might be their way of giving back, and it's great. Obviously, it makes the information's accessible to everybody who searches it on LinkedIn. Great. But that there's a big difference between doing that online and doing it on LinkedIn, and actually taking the time out to go to an event, putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, maybe on the way there thinking, God, should I even be going? I'm probably not the target audience. Oh God, what if everybody's awful to me? What if people look at me and go, you should not be there? So I think building a community that's not necessarily there, a lot of these people have never been to in real life paid media events, like, the type of events that used to run. You're looking at PPC Hero Conference, which God knows if it's even running anymore, but typically those types of events are marketed to big businesses. The tickets are, like Madfest is another big one that's on at the moment, right? That it runs every year or whatever. Tickets to that are like 600 or 700 quid. So, somebody that's maybe a small agency, or, a small business running down the street, or a freelancer, maybe they can't find the justification to go there, not knowing wholly what they're going to get out of it. 1, because of the cost, 2, because it's in London, and 3, because it's not focused on one particular area of marketing, which of course makes it attract a wide range of marketers. Great. But there's nothing that's particularly siloed to areas within paid media. You'll find web developer meetups, you'll find copywriting meetups, you'll find organic search meetups, you'll find all of these things in Manchester, literally with just a few taps of buttons. But there is nothing within the paid media space, and I think it is because it's so guarded. There's a lot of businesses that I've previously worked at that it's within their corporate policy to not share information about who they work with. Their employees are not allowed to go out and speak at events because they're so, they don't want anyone to know who they work with in case they might work with them as well and steal their strategy and steal their ideas. It's just wild. But then, once you've got a portion of people that still work in my industry of varying levels, and they've got some wild experience to share, and they're keen to give back, but there's just no platform to do that. They get asked to speak at these big events, and of course they, in some instances get paid for them. Great. But, is that really scratching the itch of giving back if they don't know that they're speaking to people that are really interested in them and what they've got to say? Like this particular area of community, they're coming to these events to see these specific people, because we only ever have 3 speakers. Most of them typically sit or reside within the northwest of England, or at least very least northwest and Midlands. So they're also from brands that people recognise. So if we sat here and started talking about agencies down in London, you could probably reel off a million different names and I'd never have heard of them. But if you start reeling off some of the names of the agencies in Manchester or South Manchester, or just generally the northwest of England, I'll be like, oh, I've heard of them. So it starts to build up an element of trust and an element of, okay, these people, I know who they are. Oh, that's interesting. I know someone that worked there. So again, you're sort of forming those connections. It's not just about, what somebody's body language is. It's about building the trust of, oh, these people are from brands that I recognise. So the same way that consumers build brand loyalty because they're like, I understand the message, I understand the business, I understand the brand. It's the same thing with the PPC Academy. I want people to come and be like, I know they're not just paying thousands of pounds for uppity speakers. They're actually getting people who are giving their time free of charge to come and share their knowledge. I don't know if that's answered your question, Rob.
No, of course, yeah, 100%. And actually, it leads on.
Sorry,
it leads on super nicely to the next question. So you've got an event coming up for the PPC Academy on the 20th of Feb, and this will go live before that. So people have got a chance to check that out and register. We can say where to find you at the end, and that's in Manchester. That's really taking things to the next level for you. So how difficult then is it to sort of set up events and get guests to agree to speak at these kind of events? If someone's thinking about doing this, and especially it seems like you've got a very clear idea of what attendees you want there and what you want the attendees to get out of it. How difficult has it been, I guess?
I'm not going to lie, Johnny, it's pretty solid. It is pretty solid. I've got 0 events experience apart from I decided for some reason on maternity leave with my first child, like that wasn't a big enough job to set up a mother's meeting every Tuesday in the little cafe, and I'd get the absolute fear that no one was going to turn up. That same level of fear happens whether it's 5 people that said they were going to come or 50 people that said they were going to come. So I now believe that genuinely is just what event planning is like. So anyone that listens to this that is involved in planning events for marketing, hats off to you, because it is honestly gut-wrenching when you are in the organising stages of it. I think in terms of how hard it is, I suppose it depends on how much do you believe in what you're doing, right? So I've had a fair amount of people that have said, oh, I'd love to talk, oh yeah, I'd be up for that, and then actually when it comes down to the crunch, they either flake away or no, there's too much involved in getting there, or it's too costly on the train, or whatever it might be, and I just kind of go, well, they're just not for me right now. That's okay. Like, I don't take it personal. I've run 2 events so far, so as far as on the event space, I'm a nobody. So when I sat talking to my partner about it, crying into my cornflakes a few weeks ago, when I was still trying to secure one of the speakers because somebody dropped out that said they were going to do it. He was like, you've got to remember, like, you're nobody to these people, and until you're probably like a year in, what reason has somebody got to come and speak for free, give up the time, get to Manchester, other than they believe in the same mission that you do? Like, surely those are the only types of people that you want there anyway. So I think that moment again just sort of clarified it for me, in the sense of, yeah, you are going to have your trials and tribulations, and it is a lot of work and it is a lot of effort, and as I've said, I don't make any money from it, but I really sincerely believe in the cause, and anybody that has agreed to speak is just a superstar in my eyes, because one, they're doing me a massive favour, but also it just goes to show that actually there is a bunch of people that really want to give back to the community and really want a bit of a platform, and I can be the one that gives it to them. So it is very, very rewarding, even though it is quite difficult. Securing venues and sponsorship, stuff like that, with no money is no small feat. But look, for the time that I have also been in digital marketing, I spent a huge amount of time in sales and recruitment prior to that, so I'm under no illusion that somebody has to see the benefit as far as like event venues and sponsorships go. They're interested in the numbers. They're same as us marketers, right? They just want to know what is my ROI going to be if I sponsor your event, or if I host your event, what is my ROI? Who do I get FaceTime with? So it's just understanding maybe how to position your, in inverted commas, data a little bit differently in the events world versus how you might do in your normal day job. But it's still the same concept, really. Like, what is the ROI that you're giving them?
I've got to say, considering this is your passion project, you're extremely driven to do all this. I don't think I'd like to feel I had the drive, but I was just listening to you thinking, you've got all these things you've got to do out of your normal day job to get this off the ground and get this running. And you're talking about getting these speakers who are superstars, and I think you're probably the superstar in this thing for actually getting the thing off the ground. Yeah.
And look, you've come up on our radar as well, and you've got on the podcast, so you're clearly doing the right things. So yeah, keep going. Looking forward to seeing how
it's absolutely.
Do you know what? I was actually listening to I think it was an audio book. What was it called? It was something like How to Own the Room or something like that. By a woman called, what was she called? She was called Viv. It's just loading up now. What was she called? How to Own the Room. She's called.
I'm not. I won't write. I always write. I was getting really good recommendations actually from the guests on books to read. I end up buying them, but they've always been really good.
So she basically talks about women in particular, women in the art of how to own the room, and she just kind of talks about how common it is for women in particular to feel like they just do not know what they're talking about, do not have a place in this sort of space of talking, public speaking, and it's just wild, because actually there's so many talented women that do what I do and do it a million times better in terms of the PPC side of things, but nobody's also willing to step up and talk about their experiences or their knowledge or, you know, their predictions or whatever it might be, because they're just so scared that somebody's going to be like, well, that's not right, you're wrong, actually this, actually that. But apparently it's quite different for blokes. So, you know, it's like it doesn't even actually cross their mind most of the time, and if they do get called out, like, yeah, well, so what? This is just what I think. Just sort of own it a little bit better. So that's something that I'm putting a lot of time into, because actually I think whilst this is a passion project of mine, one of the things that I'm working on whilst also doing the passion project is myself, is, you know, pushing through the really uncomfortable barriers of standing in front of people that are, you know, way more talented than I am as far as I'm concerned, and way more experienced in a lot of instances, and actually saying, well, this is just my experience and this is what I'm passionate about. I just want to bring you together. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody or worse than anybody, but guess what? I'm the only one that's got a rocket up my backside doing anything about it. So, you know, I'm quite happy to be that person that brings everyone together. That's the passion, right? Is building that community.
And that's such a good approach to have, because you're right. A lot of people, they just won't put themselves out there, and they've almost got this like armor up where they've got to be right. And you've come on this podcast and you've said, look, I'm not an events expert. There's probably people out there who are better at PPC, but, you know, I'm willing to share my experiences, and loads, you know, I wish more people would do that and have the same kind of mentality that you have, because we'd learn so much from each other about valid experiences rather than people just peacocking all the time. And obviously we'll get onto like LinkedIn as a platform, but like,
I was just thinking while you're saying that, we had a guest on, Kate Toon, and she did SEO, and she was saying pretty much exactly the same as you. She stood up in front of a room full of men and she was doing this, and they were all like, she was thinking, oh, they're all going to look down and you haven't a clue what you're talking about, and she was saying a lot of the time she probably didn't, but it was you know, that's that same kind of thing. And now she's like mega success in Australia,
especially at public
doing her own academy thing,
like, so
a bit like you're sort of doing,
definitely on that same trajectory. So
next thing
everybody.
Charlie's new book coming out next year.
Looking forward to it.
Co-sign Johnny and Rob. I'll write you a special message in the insert.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, appreciate that.
Okay, so next question. Moving a little bit back towards your consultancy side, a little bit away from the academy side, in terms of paid media, PPC. What from like all these communities you've got and your own experience, what do you think in 2024 is going to be sort of the prediction in the, you know, paid media PPC world? What do you think is going to sort of change or happen?
I don't think it's going to be any shock to anybody, but listen, AI is taking over, honey, whether you like it or not. A big part of PPC is obviously the different platforms that we work with, bringing out new products and sunsetting other products, and just going, tough luck, you're going to have to use this because you can't use what you were using 12 months ago because we've discontinued it. It's like, you know, for the women listening to this podcast, when someone discontinues your favourite shade of nail varnish or lipstick or whatever it might be, and you're in a state of denial, like you just can't, you're like, but that was my favourite and I loved it with every ounce and fibre of my being. But the fact of the matter is for Google, for Meta, for any of the platforms like programmatic users that listen to this as well, everything is moving towards more of an automated stance, right? So even with some of the stuff that Google's been doing recently is, with all the Performance Max stuff, the way that they've sunsetted the discovery product for demand gen, you know, everything is about taking the control away from us as marketers, taking the levers away, taking the things that we would usually fiddle with, and really creating not a black box of automation, but feeding more control into the algorithm essentially. And you can listen to a lot of the experts now that I would consider PPC experts, and they say the same thing in terms of, you know, a lot of big companies are running a lot of targeting on broad, on Meta, because it works best. And the reason why it works best is because you're giving the machine more control. So it's working with the incredible amount of data that it's got and making better decisions than you would as a human. The only thing that they, I suppose, don't account for, and when we're having all of this conversation, AI is not coming for anybody's jobs that's versatile, or anybody that is willing to move with the change. It's coming for the people that absolutely dig their heels in and say, no way, Jose, I'm not doing it. So, in terms of predictions, we will see more products that are, tap, 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 set up, off you go, with no audience data. You just type in the signals of who I want to go after and then let the platform do the rest. We will see more of that. So even with Meta bringing out the Advantage Plus product, which is essentially Performance Max or Meta, that they are mirroring each other in terms of the type of products, the type of automation that they're working with. So where there used to be quite a lot of disparity across all of the platforms and what they were really good for and who they could reach, all of them are now moving towards this all-encompassing plug in and go sort of solution. So I do think with that will be a lot more reliance on your first party data. How good are you with your first party data? How good is your on-site conversion? How much effort are you putting into the things that you can control? Because ultimately that control's going away on the platforms, whether you like it or not. So, do you get ahead of it and really harness the product and focus on the things that you can focus on now? Or do you just get left behind and stuck in a world that existed 10 years ago?
Nah, I was about to say actually. So me and Rob actually worked together 10 years ago, and I remember you telling me just do not trust Google PPC automation. Has your stance changed, Rob, or are you going to get left behind?
Well, they were smart campaigns when they first came out, and they weren't particularly very good. And even when PMax first came out, it wasn't amazing. It's so much better now, and it's almost like you have a manual campaign, and then that learns it, and then you go into PMax, and pretty much that's the kind of almost a given. And there's other things in the way, but
it just seems to have come on in the past couple of years, doesn't it? Like
the last couple of years before COVID and after COVID. But as you said, Charlie, and I think it's really interesting, and I heard this on another podcast the other day. Somebody said exactly what you were saying is, if you're smart, AI is not coming to replace you. It's going to enhance what you're doing, and you use it in the ways possible. It's like there's an analogy I thought there, not analogy, something I read from a book actually about, here we are on books again. Like, and people thought about, it's all going to sort it, but like a plane can take off itself, it can fly itself and it can land itself, but you won't want to get on a plane without a pilot there. And it's the same sort of thing with, the paid ads and things. They could almost, you still got to have a lot of input yourself, you still got to have all the assets, all that sort of thing to go in it. But I don't think the marketer will ever be removed from it. You just use it for your advantage, as you just said there.
Well, all you've got to think about is, something like ChatGPT is so amazing, but you still need somebody typing in the thing at the beginning to, to say, this is what I want, this is what I want you to look for, this is, if you type in cow as opposed to, beef stroganoff recipe, you can get two different things, right? So it doesn't matter how good the automation tool is, unless what you're putting in the front end is any good, it's not going to save you, right? So I think I might have stolen that analogy off somebody that's going to do it.
That's something else.
PPC Academy, so they're going to be fuming if they listen to this.
What goes in comes out. I forgot there's something around that one, isn't there?
No, you're
but I
completely
think
right.
someone else gave a really good example on. I was listening to an interview this morning, and it was a guy saying, think about like the big companies that use machinery now to do tasks that ultimately machine workers or conveyor belt factory workers used to do. You still need a highly skilled, trained individual or team of individuals running that factory, even though you've got machines doing the jobs. You still need people that are overseeing it and making sure they're programmed correctly, making sure the right things go in, making sure the right things come out. So I think in terms of what's in store for 2024, it's much of the same over the last 6 months. I don't think anything's going to slow down. If anything, it's going to speed up. So there will be more of those types of products. There'll be more sunsetting of tools that allow us more control. And and moving away completely. You know, it would be the death of the keyword. That's what everyone jokes about now. You know, in PPC, they're like, what is the point in even keywords existing anymore? I don't think that's too far off the horizon, to be honest, because, you know, if you're plugging in, you know, think of this though, if you're able to plug in your website, so a tool is able to see the products that you sell, feed-based or not, they're able to see the type of audience. If you plug in your first-party data or even the signals, you're telling them what type of audience you want. Really, what is the need for keywords? If they know your products and they know your audience, like, surely they're better placed to tell you how people behave on the internet and are more likely to purchase than you are.
Absolutely right. Let's keep our eyes peeled for that. But you're right. I don't think that's a million miles away from having that, and that's how people work. So what you said there's really good. I think about just adapting and changing with the times and not kind of resisting it. And I think that's where we see the PPC Academy and these events that you're running come into play, where people can come and listen to people in the field and talk to other people about what you're doing and how have you adapted and how have you found it. You know, maybe someone else has made that leap first and they can tell you, do you know what, I did it, I was a bit reluctant, but it did work out, and then you give it a go, and everyone encouraging other people. So I think, yeah, it's really important that the kind of stuff you're doing.
100%. That's ultimately what it's about, right? Is you might have somebody that runs an account for a certain type of industry, say a food industry, and they get speaking to somebody who also works in the food and drinks industry, and they find out that they've moved to Performance Max, the whole world didn't grind to a halt, and actually these are the maybe safety measures they put in place if they were to do it all again. You know, that's the type of information that's invaluable to somebody then going in and putting that into practice in their own account, and it's cost them nothing. It's cost them maybe 2-3 hours of their time, but actually when you're talking about cost, they've added 10 people to their network, they've made their client an extra $5,000 in revenue. So actually, is it a cost or is it an opportunity?
And they've probably saved hours and hours and countless amount of pounds not having to test and work it out themselves, because they've gone and spoken to someone who's helped them, accelerate it. Yeah,
it's just natural human. Is it how we evolve? Like, think about back to prehistoric times. If Rob goes up to a berry tree and starts eating berries and keels over, well, I'm not going to touch that berry tree. And it's the whole point is getting together, learning from one another, and advancing together. So yeah, absolutely key and crucial, the things you're doing. And we'll get on to that. Rob's got one little last thing, and then you can tell people where to find you, how to get involved with you, so stick around for that. But I'll indulge Rob. I'll let my little golden nugget tip.
Yes, I've got my drumsticks for drum roll for my golden nugget. I'll just have a go.
I was literally wondering why you were waving them around.
Can we see the little
Are you going to film them at the camera or something?
No, golden nugget tip time.
Oh, I love that. I love
marketing,
that.
Where is it? Marketing sounds upside down, but
it's got a Christmas present, because he used to do it with his fingers.
Yeah, I used to do it like this with
rubbish.
fingers. Because I had to do drum rolling because it was a big section, but Johnny bought me some actual
Oh, I love them.
drumsticks. So
you have to rate this out of 10. Are you ready?
Aww.
Okay, hang on. I always feel like I'm sat in a funny position for this.
It's alright, Charlie, what would you rate out of 10?
I think that is a solid 8.5.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was something missing.
I think you just needed a bit more of a slow build at the start.
Yes.
Exactly.
And a symbol.
It's missing a certain pizzazz. Yeah, I'll buy you a symbol for your birthday. So anyway.
Yeah, maybe there's just the M bit. I could perhaps do it, but there's nothing there. Anyway.
Yeah, go on.
Back to the question. So, golden nugget question then. So, my golden nugget tip on this episode is, if someone's wanting to dip their toes into the world of paid media advertising and PPC, where should they start?
Well, first of all, they probably know somebody that works in some sort of digital marketing. So reach out to those people, ask them what can they do, what can you do for them for free, what can you help them with, because all you're trying to do is build up a bit of a portfolio of experience. So nobody in their right mind is going to pay you when you have no experience to go into their Google accounts and manage their PPC account. They might, who knows, if it's your dad, maybe they will, maybe they trust you, but it's really about building up a little bit of oomph, right? So whether it's that you can say, I supported such and such digital agency for 2 months on projects, even if it is a friend that you know that owns the company and she's just let you say that, you know, a little bit, or whether or not it's you know, doing online courses. So you know, Google Skills Garage, every single platform has got their own accreditations. People that go out of their way and spend their spare time doing those things mean business. Like, they do mean business. So if somebody is interested in getting into digital marketing in a way that's not going to set them back thousands of pounds, all it's going to cost you is your time. And I suppose ultimately, if you're not prepared to spend the time on it, you're probably not that interested in it. So that for me is quite a deciding factor, right? Is if someone's spent their own time doing these things for no money, you know, reach out to me. I need some help on the LinkedIn page for PPC Academy. I will let you do that free of charge, whether you've got experience or not. We'll just take the fall together if it goes wrong. But yeah, reach out to people that you know in your network that can give you that exposure, and just expect nothing but experience back.
Yeah.
Happy with that tip, Rob?
I am. It's a great way of looking at it. I know I've thought about that, because normally I imagined you'd probably go to some, oh, here's resource, or read this person's blog or that. But yeah, it's a really good tip. That different to what I was expecting, and quite refreshing. So thank you for that.
So to finish it off, let's say people have enjoyed your insights and they want to learn more. And again, there you go. If they want to help you out on your LinkedIn, where can they go and learn more about you and the things that you're doing?
Well, they can obviously look at my personal LinkedIn. We've got the PPC Academy in LinkedIn. We can also find the events listed on Meetup. So I'll throw you over the Meetup link for the PPC Academy, and maybe we can add it into the comments wherever this gets posted. So we can share that. But yeah, PPC Academy Manchester on the meetup.com site.
Check the comments. Charlie might have to do it, because I always say I'll put stuff in the comments and I always forget. So you feel free to post that as well.
I'll put it in the notes as well, because it is useful. Because there's nothing worse than listening to something and I'm thinking, oh, I quite fancy that, and trying to desperately find out where the heck it is and how you get there. So yeah, we'll definitely make sure that's in on the 20th of February. I've got it here.
The 20th of Feb in Manchester, and the venue is actually set to be announced this Wednesday.
Oh,
exciting.
Drum roll for that.
Could have done a live one. I should have waited and recorded Wednesday.
Released
it. Have some drumsticks and announce it on live
LinkedIn. I think I can say, because it gets released this Wednesday and this comes out late, right? So actually, so it will be at Lunio's offices, which is a software services provider within.
I've just put that on my LinkedIn feed now. Then.
There you go. Spoilers.
Right, that's it.
Cool. But yeah, awesome. Right, so I think that's been a really good episode. I've definitely learned a lot. I'm definitely going to go check out more about you online after this as well. Rob, as a Lancasterian, however you say that, seem to be pestering you.
I mean, a Yorkshireman would say it like that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I was born in Lancaster too. I'm a Lancastrian.
Don't cross that
side. No way.
Don't know much about the dark side.
No,
this is going to be where it's really creepy, and I bet like my grandpa was your GP or something really creepy.
Your grandpa's probably my best friend at school. Probably.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll do a podcast series on covering Rob's ancestry. That'd be pretty cool.
Or even just the connections with all your guests and Lancaster. I feel like that extends out quite far. I'm always quite shocked when I scroll through people's LinkedIn and I see that they went to like Lancaster University or Lancaster Grammar School, and I'm like, right, that is my in. That is how we're building connections today.
Yeah. And you had Kath Lord Green as well. I think there was another one as well. Where's Lewis Ellis? Is he Lancaster as well? So you got a few.
I'm not sure on that one. But
anyway, right. Please leave us a 5-star review. Charlie, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been really good.
Yeah.
I'll just cut Rob off before he starts chatting too much about Lancashire.
I was going to say thank you so much. I love your positivity and you know what you're doing for the Northwest, and all, you know, helping people and being really generous with your time, and obviously generous with your time today being on our podcast. So thank you ever so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And if you're a speaker and you want to be generous back, please get in touch with Charlie as well. So that's it from us. We'll see you on the next one. Ta-ra.
Bye.